The massive council chamber floated in space between three suns. Inside, beings from across the galaxy sat around a curved table that stretched for miles. Some had scales, others had tentacles, and a few glowed with inner light. They all watched. The same holographic display showing a small blue planet far away. Ambassador Velnara stood before the council. Her tall, thin body moved like flowing water as she pointed to the planet with one of her 4 arms. "The Kethtar Dominion has chosen their next target," she said. Her voice carried easily through the chamber's translation systems. "What makes this world special?" asked Thixion. The crystal being's body sparkled as he spoke. Light danced through his transparent form like trapped lightning. Velnara touched a control pad. The blue planet grew larger in the display. White clouds swirled over green and brown continents. Rich deposits of rare metals lie beneath the surface. The water is pure and abundant. Most important, the location gives access to 3 major trade routes. The council members nodded. They had seen this many times before. The Kethtar were known throughout the galaxy as conquerors. They found worlds with resources and took them. The process was always the same. What about the native species? This question came from Yildana, whose people valued all life. Her blue skin shifted color as she worried about the planet's inhabitants. "Primitive mammals called humans," Velnara replied. She waved her hand and images of humans appeared above the table. "They have basic nuclear technology and simple rockets. Their civilization is fragmented into competing nations. They show no signs of unified planetary defense." General Krextar's image appeared in the display. The massive reptilian creature stood over 8 feet tall. Scars covered his dark green scales. His yellow eyes burned with the hunger of a predator. "My forces will need 7 cycles to complete the conquest," his recorded voice growled. "These humans pose no threat to a modern military force." Deep in space, far from the council chamber, Captain Jake Morrison sat in front of multiple screens. The secret facility buried under the mountains of Colorado hummed with hidden technology. For years, humans had detected strange signals from space. Now those signals were getting stronger. "Jake, look at this," Dr. Lisa Chen called from across the room. Her fingers danced over a keyboard as data flowed across her monitors. "The energy patterns are definitely artificial. Something big is moving toward our solar system." Morrison left his station and walked to Chen's desk. Numbers and graphs filled her screens. The readings showed massive objects using some kind of advanced propulsion system. "How many ships?" he asked. Hard to tell exactly, but the energy output suggests at least 300 vessels," Chen replied. She pushed her glasses up her nose and frowned at the data. "Jake, these aren't exploration ships. The energy signatures match military configurations." Morrison felt his stomach tighten. For the past 10 years, he had worked on humanity's most classified project. Deep underground facilities across Earth housed weapons and defenses that the public never knew existed. The project started as preparation for the unknown. Now it looked like the unknown was coming to them. "Alert General Wells," Morrison said. "Tell her we have incoming hostiles. Unknown number, unknown technology, but definitely military." Back in the council chamber, the debate continued. Some members wanted to warn the humans about the coming invasion. Others argued that galactic law prevented interference with primitive civilizations. "We cannot simply watch another species be destroyed," Yildana pleaded. Her skin had turned deep purple with distress. "Surely there must be something we can do." Thixion's crystal form dimmed. "The law is clear. Species must reach interstellar travel before we can make contact." These humans still use chemical rockets. They are not ready for galactic society. Then we are condemned to watch another world burn, Yildana said quietly. Velnara brought up new images. They showed human cities, human families, human children, playing in parks. The Kethtar will follow standard protocol. Orbital bombardment of major population centers, followed by ground invasion. Historical data suggest 90% casualty rates in the first phase. The council fell silent. They had seen this happen before. Young civilizations faced with overwhelming technology could not resist. The lucky ones surrendered quickly. The stubborn ones fought and died. None of them knew about the facilities hidden beneath Earth's surface. None of them had detected the weapons placed in Earth's orbit years ago. The humans had learned to hide their true capabilities while they prepared for a threat they hoped would never come. In the depths of the Colorado facility, Morrison activated the emergency communication system. Signals flashed to similar bases around the world. In Russia, China, Brazil, and a dozen other countries, humans began powering up equipment that had waited in silence for this moment. "This is Morrison at Deep Space Command," he spoke into his headset. "We have confirmed alien contact. Multiple hostile vessels approaching Earth. All units prepare for Protocol 7 implementation." Across the globe, blast doors opened. Massive machines hummed to life. Satellite networks that appeared dead suddenly came online. The humans had spent decades preparing for this day. They had studied every science fiction movie, read every military strategy book, and planned for every possible scenario. Dr. Chen watched her screens as the alien fleet continued its approach. "They're dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of our solar system," she reported. "Estimated arrival at Earth in 72 hours. Morrison nodded grimly. 72 hours to implement a plan that had taken 10 years to create. 72 hours to prove that humans were not the primitive species their enemies believed them to be. "Contact the President," Morrison ordered. "Tell her it's time to show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens Earth." The Galactic Council continued their debate, unaware that their assumptions about human technology were completely wrong. The Kethtar fleet moved through space with the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. Both groups would soon learn that humans had a different definition of helpless. In the hidden facilities, thousands of human soldiers and scientists made final preparations. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. Now they would discover if their planning and preparation would be enough to save their world. The invasion was about to begin. But the invaders had no idea what they were really facing. The Kethtar fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a dark cloud covering the sun. 300 warships spread across space near Earth's moon. Each vessel stretched longer than 10 city blocks and bristled with weapons designed to crack planets. Open General Krextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, Devastation of Worlds. His massive claws gripped the command rail as he studied the small blue planet ahead. Years of conquest had taught him that primitive species always followed the same pattern: fear, panic, then surrender. "Begin standard intimidation protocol," Krextar ordered his weapons officer. "Target their largest population centers. Demonstrate our power." The weapons officer, a smaller reptilian with nervous twitches, worked his controls. "Sir, should we demand surrender first?" Krextar's laugh sounded like grinding metal. "These mammals need to see death before they understand their place. Fire on the cities called New York, London, and Tokyo. 30% power, just enough to level a few buildings and kill a few thousand." Plasma cannons charged across the fleet. Energy that could melt mountains focused on 3 points on Earth's surface. The beams lanced down through the atmosphere, bright enough to blind anyone, looking directly at them. Then something impossible happened. The beams struck invisible barriers 50 miles above the cities and scattered harmlessly into space. The deadly energy that should have turned buildings to vapor instead lit up the sky like fireworks. "What happened?" Krextar roared. "Why are the cities still standing?" His weapons officer stared at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, our weapons fired correctly, but something deflected the energy. I'm detecting massive shield generators hidden across the planet." Back in the Galactic Council chamber, emergency alarms filled the air. The council members watched in shock as their sensors showed the failed attack. Impossible readings flooded their displays. How do they have shield technology? Thixion's crystal form flickered rapidly. "Our surveys showed no advanced energy manipulation." Velnara worked frantically at her controls. "I'm detecting power sources all across the planet. Underground facilities are coming online. The energy output is enormous." "This changes everything," Yildana whispered. Her skin had turned white with surprise. "The humans have been hiding their true capabilities." In the Colorado Command Center, General Patricia Wells watched the tactical displays with cold satisfaction. She had spent 15 years preparing for this moment. Now her planning would be tested against a real enemy. "Shields are holding at 98%, reported Major Susan Clark from the defense console. "All planetary protection systems are online." Wells nodded. The shields were just the beginning. "Captain Morrison, begin Phase 2. Show them what Earth can really do." Morrison's fingers flew over his controls. Around the world, concealed launch tubes opened. On the dark side of the moon, massive doors slid back to reveal weapon systems that had waited in silence for years. "Lunar defense grid is active," Morrison announced. "Railguns charged and ready. Target acquisition is complete." Wells looked at the main display showing the alien fleet. Each red dot represented a ship full of beings who had come to destroy her world. "Fire," she said quietly. The railguns on the moon launched their first volley. Tungsten projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds shot across space like invisible death. The rounds moved so fast that the aliens had no time to react. 12 Kethtar warships exploded simultaneously. The tungsten slugs punched through their shields and armor like bullets through paper. Atmosphere and crew members vented into space as the massive vessels broke apart. "Impossible!" Krextar's roar shook his bridge. "How do these primitives have kinetic weapons? Our shields should stop any projectile." His tactical officer's voice trembled. "Sir, the projectiles are moving at significant fractions of light speed. No shield in the galaxy can stop objects moving that fast." More railgun rounds crossed the space between Earth and the fleet. Kethtar ships tried to maneuver, but their massive size made them easy targets. Explosions lit up the darkness as warship after warship died. Dr. Chen monitored the battle from her station. "Lunar weapons are performing above expectations," she reported. "Enemy fleet has lost 40 ships in the first minute." But the humans weren't finished. Hidden launch bays on Earth opened to reveal sleek fighters unlike anything in their public space program. The craft moved without visible propulsion, dancing through space with impossible grace. Commander Roy Baker led the first squadron away from their hidden base in Nevada. His fighter responded to his thoughts as much as his controls. Years of training in zero-gravity combat had prepared him for this moment. "Wolf Squadron, remember your mission," Baker spoke into his communicator. "These aliens came here to kill our families. Make sure none of them live to try again. The human fighters moved through the alien fleet like sharks among fish. Their weapons cut through Kethtar armor with surgical precision. Each pilot had trained for years in virtual reality, fighting against computer models of alien ships. Now, they faced the real thing. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez locked onto a Kethtar cruiser trying to retreat. Her fighter's weapons charged automatically as her targeting system found weak points in the enemy armor. "Target acquired! Firing!" Beams of coherent energy sliced through the alien ship's hull. Internal explosions followed as the cruiser's power. Systems overloaded. The massive vessel tumbled end over end before breaking into pieces. In the council chamber, the assembled beings watched in horror as the readings continued to change. The primitive human civilization was systematically destroying one of the galaxy's most feared military forces. "This cannot be happening," Thixion said. His crystal form had turned almost black with fear. "The Kethtar have conquered hundreds of worlds. How are these mammals defeating them?" Velnara's instruments showed more impossible readings. "The human fighters are using gravitational manipulation for propulsion. That technology is theoretical even for us, and their energy weapons appear to be based on principles we don't understand." The battle around Earth continued with devastating efficiency. Human forces had trained for this scenario using every piece of alien technology they had secretly detected over the years. They knew where to hit enemy ships for maximum damage. Captain Morrison coordinated the assault from his command center. "Bomber Squadron Alpha, target the alien flagship. Make sure their commander understands his mistake." Heavy human bombers approached Krextar's ship from multiple directions. These craft carried weapons designed specifically to crack open heavily armored targets. The general watched his shields flicker under the assault. "All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance," Krextar ordered. Fear crept into his voice for the first time in decades. "We need to reassess the tactical situation," but the humans had no intention of letting the aliens retreat. More fighters launched from hidden bases across Earth. Weapon platforms that had pretended to be dead satellites came online. The planet that had seemed defenseless revealed itself as a fortress. General Wells watched the tactical display as more alien ships died. "They wanted to conquer Earth," she said to her staff. "Now, they're going to learn what happens when you threaten humanity." The first phase of the battle was ending. The mighty Kethtar fleet that had destroyed so many worlds was being torn apart by the species they had thought primitive. But this was only the beginning of humanity's response. In space, more human ships appeared from hidden bases throughout the solar system. The aliens who had come expecting easy conquest now faced a nightmare of advanced technology and ruthless efficiency. The galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating humanity. General Krextar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. In less than 6 hours, his mighty fleet had been reduced from 300 ships to barely 100. The creatures he had dismissed as primitive mammals were destroying his forces with terrifying efficiency. "Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from 15 ship commanders," his communications officer reported. The young Kethtar's scales had turned pale with fear. "They're asking permission to abandon their vessels." Krextar's claws carved deep grooves in his command rail. No Kethtar fleet had ever suffered such losses. In 3 centuries of conquest, his people had never faced an enemy this dangerous. Denied. Any commander who abandons his post will be executed for cowardice. But his threats could not change the reality on his screens. More human ships appeared from hidden bases throughout. the solar system. These weren't the crude chemical rockets his intelligence had reported. They moved faster than anything in his fleet and struck with impossible precision. Commander Roy Baker led his fighter squadron through the alien formation like a blade through flesh. His targeting computer painted enemy ships in red as his weapons. Systems locked on. Years of training against computer simulations had prepared him perfectly for real combat. "Blue leader to all fighters," Baker spoke into his communicator. "Remember, these aliens came here planning to murder billions of innocent people. Show them the price of threatening Earth." Baker's fighter danced around a Kethtar destroyer, his weapons cutting precise holes in its armor. Each shot hit critical, systems that his training had taught him to target. The enemy ship lost power and began drifting helplessly through space. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez approached the crippled destroyer in her boarding craft. Her team of 12 Marines wore powered armor that made them stronger and faster than any normal human. They had trained for years in ship-to-ship combat. "Remember, we need prisoners for intelligence," Rodriguez told her team as they prepared to board. "But anyone who resists dies immediately." The Marines cut through the destroyer's hull like it was made of cardboard. Inside, they found Kethtar, crew members huddled in terror. The aliens had never faced boarding actions before. Their own military doctrine relied on orbital bombardment and overwhelming firepower. Rodriguez grabbed the ship's captain by his scaled throat. The alien was twice her size, but her powered armor made her strength overwhelming. "You're coming with us," she said through her suit's translator. "Your ship's computer records will tell us everything we need to know about your fleet." Back in the Galactic Council chamber, emergency sessions continued around the clock. The assembled beings watched in growing horror as the humans demonstrated military capabilities that defied all known science. "They're not just defending themselves," observed Ambassador Velnara. Her forearms moved nervously as she studied the tactical data. "They're systematically capturing alien technology and prisoners. This suggests long-term strategic planning." Thixion's crystal form had dimmed to almost complete darkness. "The humans are learning. Each engagement makes them more effective. They're adapting their tactics in real time." "How is this possible?" demanded Yildana. Her blue skin had turned green with worry. "Our surveys showed they had barely achieved nuclear technology. Where did these weapons come from?" The answer lay deep beneath Earth's surface, in facilities that had operated in complete secrecy for decades. Dr. Chen worked frantically at her computer terminal, analyzing data from captured alien ships. Each piece of enemy technology revealed new possibilities for human weapons. "Jake, look at this," Chen called to Captain Morrison. "Their shield generators use a completely different energy matrix than ours. If we can reverse engineer the power source, we could increase our weapons output by 300%. Morrison studied the data flowing across Chen's screens. The humans had been preparing for alien contact since the first radio signals from space. Every technological advancement had been secretly directed toward planetary defense. "How long to implement the upgrades?" Morrison asked. 6 hours for the first prototype," Chen replied. 12 hours for full fleet deployment. General Wells listened to the report with grim satisfaction. "Do it," she ordered. "These aliens need to understand that attacking Earth was the worst mistake in their species' history." In space, the battle continued with relentless intensity. Human forces had abandoned any pretense of defensive warfare. They hunted the remaining alien ships with the methodical precision of predators. Major Susan Clark coordinated the assault from her command station. "Assault Group 7, target the alien command ship. We want their general alive for questioning. Krextar watched human fighters swarm around his flagship like angry insects. His weapons systems struggled to track targets that moved with impossible speed and agility. Each shot from the human craft hit exactly where it would cause maximum damage. "Sir, they're targeting our communication arrays," his tactical officer reported. "They want to isolate us from the rest of the fleet. Then give me a direct channel to all ships," Krextar snarled. "If we're going to die, we'll take as many of these mammals with us as possible." But the humans had different plans. Boarding craft approached the flagship from 6 directions, while fighters provided cover. Each craft carried teams specially trained for capturing enemy commanders alive. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Parker led the assault on the alien flagship. His team moved through the ship's corridors with deadly efficiency. Kethtar warriors who tried to resist died instantly. Those who surrendered were secured and moved to holding areas. "Intelligence says their general is on the command deck," Parker reported to his team. "Take him alive. The brass wants to have a conversation with him." The human assault teams reached Krextar's bridge after fighting through 12 levels of the massive ship. The general stood alone among the bodies of his command staff, his massive form outlined against the viewport showing Earth in the distance. "You fight well for mammals," Krextar growled as human soldiers surrounded him. "But you cannot stop the Dominion. More fleets will come." Parker removed his helmet, revealing a scarred face and cold eyes. "General, you just gave us exactly the information we needed. Now we know where to find the rest of your people." Krextar's yellow eyes widened as he realized his mistake. The humans weren't just defending their world. They were gathering intelligence for something much worse. In the council chamber, new alerts began sounding. Long-range sensors detected human ships leaving Earth's solar system at impossible speeds. They were heading directly toward Kethtar. "Space. They're not stopping with defense," Velnara announced to the shocked assembly. "The humans are taking the war to the enemy's home worlds." The beings in the chamber fell silent. They had watched many species defend themselves against invasion. But they had never seen a primitive civilization launch immediate counterattacks against a galactic empire. Dr. Chen monitored the departing human fleet from her station on Earth. "First wave is away," she reported. "Estimated arrival at primary Kethtar colonies in 18 hours. Morrison nodded. The humans had spent years studying every piece of alien communication they could detect. They knew where their enemies lived, where they kept their fleets, and where their leaders felt safe. "Signal all departing ships," Morrison ordered. "Mission parameters are simple. Total elimination of Kethtar military capability. No survivors among their command structure." The message transmitted to the human fleet contained detailed intelligence about every Kethtar installation in the galaxy. The aliens who had come to conquer Earth were about to discover that humans did not fight defensive wars. They fought wars of complete and utter destruction. General Krextar sat chained in what had once been his own detention cell aboard the captured flagship. The massive Kethtar general stared at the human interrogator, who sat calmly across from him. Colonel Ben Parker looked smaller than the alien, but his presence filled the room with quiet menace. "Tell me about your home world," Parker said. His voice carried no emotion, which somehow made it more terrifying than any threat. "Tell me about your colonies, your shipyards, your families." Krextar's scaled face twisted with rage. "I will tell you nothing, mammal. The Dominion has ruled the galaxy for centuries. Your pathetic species will be crushed." Parker opened a datapad and showed Krextar the screen. It displayed real-time feeds from across Kethtar space. Human ships were systematically destroying every military installation they could find. Colonies that had stood for generations were being evacuated at gunpoint. "Your species made a critical error," Parker explained. "You attacked our civilians. You came to our world planning to commit genocide. Now you get to watch us return the favor." On Earth, President Helen Carter prepared to address the world from the Oval Office. But her speech would reach far beyond Earth. Hidden transmitters would broadcast her words across subspace frequencies to every corner of the galaxy. "My fellow humans, and to any alien civilizations listening," the president began. 72 hours ago, the Kethtar Dominion attacked our world without warning or provocation. They intended to murder billions of innocent people and claim Earth as their own. The president's next words sent shockwaves through the galactic council chambers where emergency sessions continued around the clock. "Today, I announce the complete destruction of the Kethtar military and the dissolution of their empire. Any species that threatens humanity or our allies will face the same fate. Earth is under our protection. We suggest you remember that." Ambassador Velnara frantically worked her communication systems, trying to establish contact with the human leadership. After hours of failed attempts, she finally reached Dr. Chen at the Deep Space Monitoring Station. "Dr. Chen, please, you must listen to reason," Velnara pleaded through the translation matrix. "The Galactic Council can mediate this situation. There are laws, protocols for dealing with aggressive species." Chen's face appeared on the communication screen. Her expression showed no trace of sympathy or mercy. "Your laws didn't protect us when the Kethtar fleet approached our world. Your protocols didn't stop them from planning to murder our children. But total destruction of their civilization goes too far," Velnara argued. "Surely some form of justice short of genocide would suffice." "Justice?" Chen's voice turned ice-cold. "General Krextar's own records show that the Kethtar have destroyed 47 civilizations in the past century. They were planning to use biological weapons on our cities. You want us to show mercy to genocidal monsters?" The communication channel went dead, leaving Velnara staring at a blank screen. Around the council chamber, other beings worked desperately to contact human leadership. All received the same cold rejection. In Kethtar space, Commander Sarah Kim led the human assault on the alien homeworld. Her fleet approached the heavily defended planet with methodical precision. Massive orbital platforms tried to stop them, but human weapons cut through their defenses like paper. "Remember the mission parameters," Kim broadcast to her fleet. "We're not here to conquer territory. We're here to end a threat permanently." Kim's ships didn't bombard cities from orbit like traditional galactic warfare. Instead, they disabled planetary defenses and landed assault teams at every government building and military base. The humans had studied Kethtar society for months, using captured intelligence. Within hours, every member of the Kethtar ruling council sat in human detention cells. Every military commander above the rank of captain was dead or captured. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries ceased to exist in a single day. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez stood in the Kethtar Capitol building, watching human soldiers catalog military records and strategic plans. The intelligence they gathered revealed the true scope of the Dominion's crimes. "Colonel, you need to see this," Rodriguez called to her commanding officer. She pointed to a wall display showing star charts marked with red symbols. Each red mark represents a civilization they've completely destroyed. There are hundreds of them. The evidence painted a picture of systematic extermination spanning millennia. The Kethtar hadn't just conquered worlds, they had erased entire species from existence. Billions of beings had died to feed their empire's expansion. Back on Earth, General Wells reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Human forces had achieved total victory in less than 48 hours. The Kethtar military no longer existed. Their colonies had surrendered or been evacuated. Their leaders faced judgment for crimes against countless species. Status report, Wells requested from her staff. Major Clark consulted her data pad. All primary objectives achieved. Kethtar fleet strength reduced to 0. Command structure eliminated. Industrial capacity destroyed. We estimate it would take them 500 years to rebuild even basic military capability. And the other species? Wells asked. 17 different civilizations have sent messages thanking us for ending the Kethtar threat, Clark replied. They're calling us liberators. But Wells knew the galaxy would see humanity differently. They had demonstrated military capabilities that exceeded even the most advanced council species. More importantly, they had shown a willingness to use those capabilities without restraint. Dr. Chen monitored communications from across the galaxy. Messages poured in from dozens of worlds, some grateful, others terrified. The patterns were becoming clear. Jake, we're receiving formal surrender offers from 3 different aggressive species, Chen reported. They're offering tribute and promising never to threaten developing worlds again. Captain Morrison studied the communication logs. Fear was spreading through the galaxy faster than their ships could travel. Species that had spent centuries as galactic bullies suddenly faced the possibility of human retaliation. Log all communications, Morrison ordered. But don't respond yet. Let them wonder what we're planning. In the Galactic Council chamber, the emergency session entered its 3rd day. The assembled beings struggled to understand what humanity's emergence meant for galactic civilization. They've rewritten the rules of interstellar warfare, Thixion observed. His crystal form flickered with nervous energy. Complete destruction of enemy civilization within 48 hours. No negotiation, no mercy, no compromise. Yildana's skin had turned pale blue with fear. What happens when they decide another species threatens them? We've all seen their definition of appropriate response. The answer came sooner than expected. Human ships appeared at the edges of 3 more star systems, all controlled by species known for aggression against weaker civilizations. The message was identical in each case. This system is now under human protection. All military forces will withdraw immediately. Any aggressive action against developing civilizations will result in the complete elimination of your species. The threats weren't empty. Within hours, human forces had disabled the military capabilities of all 3 aggressive species. No shots were fired. The mere presence of human ships was enough to force immediate surrender. Colonel Parker finished his interrogation of General Krextar with a final question. Any last words for your people? The defeated general stared at his captor with eyes full of hate and fear. You cannot police the entire galaxy. There are threats you cannot imagine. Parker stood and walked to the cell door. General, we just eliminated a galactic empire in 2 days. What makes you think any threat is beyond our capabilities? As the cell door sealed shut, Krextar realized the terrible truth. Humanity hadn't just defended their world, they had announced their arrival as the galaxy's new apex predator. The age of human dominance had begun. 6 months after the Kethtar invasion, the galaxy had changed forever. The Galactic Council met in emergency session for the 100th time since humanity had emerged as a military superpower. The council chamber felt smaller now, dominated by the fear of beings who had suddenly discovered they were no longer at the top of the galactic food chain. Ambassador Velnara delivered her weekly report with the resignation of someone who had watched their entire worldview collapse. Human. Forces have established protection zones around 23 star systems containing developing civilizations. They patrol these areas with ships we still cannot fully understand. "How many species have they eliminated?" asked Thixion. The crystal being's form had remained dim for months, a sign of deep anxiety among his people. "The Kethtar Dominion no longer exists," Velnara replied. "The Skarn raiders were completely destroyed after they attacked a protected world. The Vorthon Empire surrendered their entire military rather than face human retaliation." Yildana shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Her blue skin had taken on permanent pale tones since humanity had revealed itself. 27 different species have requested protection treaties with Earth. They're offering technology and resources in exchange for human defense. On Earth, the newly constructed Terran Defense Command operated from a massive complex built into the Colorado Mountains. General Patricia Wells stood before a holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked hostile species. Green dots showed protected worlds. Blue dots indicated human patrol routes. Status report. Wells. Requested from her senior staff, Captain Morrison, now Director of Alien Affairs, consulted his data pad. 14 more species have formally requested protection agreements this week. The Alterian Republic is offering their quantum computing technology. The Nexus Collective wants to share their medical advances. Fear makes powerful motivation, Wells observed. She had spent her career preparing for alien invasion. Now she found herself managing a galactic empire that humanity had never wanted but couldn't avoid. Dr. Chen entered the command center carrying reports from the Xenobiology Research Division. Her team had spent months studying captured alien technology and prisoners. What they had discovered justified every harsh action humanity had taken. "Patricia, you need to see this," Chen said, activating a new display. "We've decoded the complete Kethtar historical records. The picture is worse than we thought." The display showed a timeline stretching back 500 years. Red markers indicated civilizations destroyed by the Kethtar. The scale was staggering. Hundreds of species, billions of beings, entire star systems stripped of life. "But here's the important part," Chen continued, highlighting connections between the data points. The Kethtar weren't operating alone. They were the military arm of an established galactic order. The Council species used them to eliminate emerging civilizations that might challenge their dominance. Wells studied the evidence with growing anger. "You're telling me the Galactic Council was complicit in genocide?" "More than complicit," Chen replied. "They directed it. Every target was approved by Council intelligence services. The Kethtar got resources and territory. The Council maintained control over galactic development. The revelation transformed human policy from reactive defense to proactive intervention. If the galaxy's established powers had spent centuries murdering emerging civilizations, then humanity would ensure such crimes never happened again." Commander Roy Baker now led the Interstellar Patrol Division, a fleet of human ships that traveled the galaxy seeking threats to developing worlds. His mission parameters were simple: protect the innocent and eliminate the predators. Baker's ship dropped out of hyperspace near a world called Kepler 442b. The planet showed early signs of technological development. Radio signals indicated a civilization just beginning to reach for the stars. According to intelligence reports, a species called the hegemony planned to claim the world within the year. Broadcasting on all frequencies, Baker's communications officer reported. Universal translator is active. Baker activated his ship's external communicators. This is Commander Baker of the Terran Defense Force. The world you call Kepler 442b is now under Earth's protection. Any attempt to interfere with its natural development will be met with immediate military response. The message reached hegemony space within hours. Their response came back even faster, a complete withdrawal of all military forces from the sector. The reputation of human military capabilities had spread throughout the galaxy. No species wanted to test whether the stories were true. On Kepler 442b itself, primitive radio telescopes detected the energy signatures of the human patrol ships. The planet's inhabitants had no idea they had just been saved from conquest and possible extinction. In the depths of space, automated human monitoring stations watched for threats. Advanced artificial intelligence analyzed every communication, every ship movement, every sign of aggressive intent. The galaxy had become a very dangerous place for predatory species. The Galactic Council struggled to adapt to their new reality. Ambassador Velnara worked desperately to establish formal, diplomatic relations with humanity. After months of trying, she finally received permission to visit Earth. General Wells met the alien diplomat in a conference room deep within the Terran Defense Command complex. Velnara's 4 arms moved nervously as she tried to find words for an impossible situation. General Wells, the Council wishes to establish formal protocols for interaction with your species, Velnara began. Surely we can find common ground for peaceful cooperation. Wells activated a holographic display showing the galaxy's current political situation. Human ships patrolled vast areas of space. Protected worlds flourished under their guard. Aggressive species had either surrendered or been eliminated. Ambassador, your people had 500 years to establish peaceful cooperation, Wells replied. Instead, you used murder and genocide to maintain power. Why should we trust you now? The Council has voted to outlaw aggressive expansion, Velnara said desperately. We're establishing new laws to protect developing civilizations. Too little, too late, Wells said firmly. Humanity will continue protecting innocent species. We suggest your people focus on earning our trust rather than demanding it. The meeting ended with no agreements and no promises. Humanity had made its position clear. They would act as the galaxy's protector, whether the established powers liked it or not. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez stood on the bridge of a human patrol ship near the edge of known space. Her sensors had detected energy signatures from an unexplored region. The pattern suggested another aggressive species preparing for expansion. Signal the fleet, Rodriguez ordered. We have possible hostiles approaching the Vega sector. All ships prepare for reconnaissance in force. Her ship and 6 others moved toward the unknown threat. They carried weapons capable of destroying fleets and the training to use them without hesitation. Whatever new danger lurked in the darkness would face the same choice given to all aggressors: surrender or die. Back on Earth, Dr. Chen monitored communications from across the galaxy. The patterns showed a fundamental shift in galactic civilization. Species that had spent millennia as victims now sent grateful messages toward the small blue planet that had changed everything. Jake, we're receiving another batch of thank you messages, Chen reported. 47 different civilizations expressing gratitude for ending various aggressive threats. Captain Morrison reviewed the communications logs. Any new threats emerging? 3. Potential problems, Chen replied, but our patrol fleets are already moving to intercept. The new species will receive standard warnings about protected worlds and acceptable behavior. General Wells looked at the galactic map one more time before ending her shift. Red dots for hostile species had decreased dramatically. Green dots for protected worlds continued to multiply. Blue dots, showing human patrol routes now covered, most of known space. Status of the Kethtar prisoners? Wells asked. General Krextar and his senior officers are still in detention, Morrison replied. The war crimes tribunals should conclude within the month. And the other aggressive species we've neutralized? Complete cooperation, Morrison said. They're providing reparations to the species they previously attacked. Several have requested human oversight of their reconstruction efforts. Wells nodded with satisfaction. The galaxy was becoming a safer place, but the work was far from finished. Somewhere in the darkness, new threats were probably emerging. New predators were likely planning attacks on innocent worlds, but now those predators would face humanity. They would learn the same lesson the Kethtar had learned too late. Attacking the innocent carried a price beyond imagination. The humans had not asked to become the galaxy's guardians. They had simply refused to let evil go unpunished. In doing so, they had created a new age where developing civilizations could grow and flourish without fear. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but Earth was watching and humanity was ready. The age of galactic peace had begun, enforced by the species that had turned warfare into an art form.